It's KOMP 92.3 where Vegas rocks. It's Sylvia with musician, professional wrestler, author, actor, Chris Jericho.
Bake sale host.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know. It could be.
Dang.
I could have a bake sale in Vegas.
I
should.
What kind?
Cookies, maybe? That's
Like
about all I can do.
Like the edible kind? It's legal here.
No,
That's immediately
I was just talking Toll House chocolate chip cookies. If we want to sprinkle some edible in there, we probably could. But
Do you bake?
huh?
Do you bake? Not like bake, like that kind of bake, but like, like in the kitchen.
Not really. I mean, I can make cookies.
That's more than I
Toll
can.
House cookies that you get the little, the roll, and then you open it up, and they're like pre-cut, and you just put them all in a tray.
Okay.
You stick them in the oven for 20 minutes. You pull them out, then you're ready to go.
Oh, I thought you meant like bake from scratch.
No.
I'm like, dang.
No.
That is way more than I can do.
Yeah, I know. I'm not talented in that respect.
It's so cool having you here. So thank you so much for stopping on by. Celebrating 25 years of Fozzy.
Yeah.
It's happening tonight at VAMP'd. 25 years. Like, what does that mean for you?
It's pretty crazy when you think about it because, we've played Vegas so many times and been on, your station so many times, but it's just really unbelievable to think that we started this in 2000. Because any band will tell you to last for 25 years is not an easy thing to do. Most bands don't last that long. I mean, obviously we have our AC/DCs that are in town. You mentioned Metallica.
Yeah.
Bands at that giant level, you can last. But for most bands, you don't get that far. So we don't take it for granted. We've got a great fan base. We've got great support from radio stations such as yourself. And we can go tour 2 or 3 times a year in the States and go to the UK and go to Australia and do really well. So we've kind of really created a great business model for the band. We're getting more airplay than we've ever gotten from our tunes. Judas is almost platinum. Fall in Line came out instantly on the charts. So we really kind of have built a pretty cool thing, but that's 25 years of a lot of work to get there, for sure.
Of course, yeah. And last album, Boombox, that was released in 2022.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of doing something differently this time around where you're only releasing singles. Is that easier for you guys, or is that the best route that you want to go to?
Honestly, Boombox is the reason why we decided to do that, because Boombox, we started recording before the pandemic, then the pandemic hits. So we worked on that record for about 2 years. And every band should feel this way. When you put out an album, every song can be a single. That's kind of how we approached it. But every song can't be a single. It's just not how it works. We released 3 singles. They all went to the top 10. We played 3 more live. And then you got 6 other songs that just kind of disappear into the ether. They go to the Elephant song graveyard. And we were like, why are we putting so much time into these songs that aren't getting their day in court, shall we say? So we said, why don't we just release singles one at a time? That way we can play each one of them live. You can see how far they go on the radio, and give them a shot to really, live and breathe. And I think in this day and age, it's kind of the best way to do it because there's so much content, and the concept of a full form album is almost getting obsolete. I mean, obviously when you have the classic bands like Metallica, new album, that's the way it should be, but in this day and age of Spotify playlists and, streaming and radio and all that sort of stuff, we kind of felt that just doing one song at a time might be the best way to go. Not that we might not do a new record tomorrow, but for right now, we thought that was the best way to do it. And it's worked out well for Spotlight. And like I said, for our new song, Fall in Line, which came out of the gate with so much steam because it's a single song.
Is there less pressure to do it this way rather than release a full-on album?
I mean, I don't know if pressure's the right word. I mean, it's definitely quicker because, you can really focus on the one song and then release it faster. Whereas a whole record, I mean, once again, when you put out a record, it is a commitment, and you want to make sure that it's great.
Yeah.
I never liked when a band would put out an album, there'd be 3 great songs and 7 kind of filler tunes. So to us, every song has to be great. Every song has to be single quality level. So I think there's probably more pressure because you only have one song. So it's not like, well, the first song was good, but the second song, that was really good. The third song on the record is awesome. We don't have that option because it's just one, but you want it to come out of the gate with making a real statement. So it's a little more pressure on that one aspect.
Sure.
But I think, like I said, it's much more exciting, and you want to have more regularity with the music that you're putting out rather than 10 songs every 2 or 3 years. Let's do one every 3 or 4 or 5 months. Sort of thing. That's the idea.
So Spotlight, we said, was released in 2023. Fall in Line released recently.
Yeah, last week.
You're already working on the next single.
Yeah, well, that's once again because we really focused on this, keeping the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And so Rich and I the other day were like, we should start working on the next single. We already kind of have an idea before Fall in Line even came out. So it's one of those ones where after this tour is done, we'll go and start working on it and maybe record it in a couple months. And the idea would be when Fall in Line starts peaking and starts going down the ladder, which usually takes about 4 months, then we have another one ready to go in the chamber.
Is there a goal for the amount of songs that you wanted to release throughout the year?
I mean, like I said, I think I would like it. The perfect world would be 3. 2 for sure, though. But I mean, it just because, like I said, it depends how well the song does. Because nowadays, like, we never realized how important rock radio was. I've said this time and time again until we started getting played on rock radio. It's true, and that's why to come through here with KOMP or KOMP. It means a lot. So we want to continue to have that support and have that radio. That radio involvement. So once you start getting that and it gets into the flow, because it takes a long time for all the stations to kind of catch on. So it's like that old guy who's spinning the plates, and there's one plate spinning at the beginning, and then he moves down the line, he has to go back over. So stations that play it right out of the gate, you're asking for a lot of commitment, 14, 15, 18, 20 weeks of rotation. And then there's new stations that are just starting after those 20 weeks that are starting to get involved. So the more kind of content and, like I said, the more regular product and regular tunage that we can put out, the more momentum we'll have.
All right. So I'm talking to Chris Jericho. He's in town to celebrate Fozzy's 25th anniversary tonight at VAMP'd. So Fozzy formed in 99. The first album dropped in 2000, correct? You were in WWE at this point.
Right.
When did you find the time to do music and wrestling?
It's always been the golden question. And, once again, I've told the story many times. When I was a kid, I wanted to be in a rock and roll band and I wanted to be a wrestler. And I didn't know how I was going to do that, but I just knew that I wanted to do it. So that kind of gave me... I had a passion for it, and there was always a lot of people that said, you can't do this or you won't do this. And for me, it was never, like, I never cared what other people thought. I wanted to do it, didn't know how, but that was part of the challenge and the fun of it, especially pre-internet. You didn't know how to do anything. You just had to go try and figure it out. So when we finally started with Fozzy in 2000 or 99 and I was in WWE, it was, we weren't kind of as full-time as we are now. It was more of just kind of a project.
Oh, okay. Because I think and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the travel and just the schedule of WWE at that time was just grueling, right? Like I feel like it's
way different now.
Yeah, like
the whole business has changed so much. So yeah, it was very grueling at the time. You're looking at 4 days a week, every week, so that's 16 shows to 18 shows a month. So yeah, we didn't really have the time to do touring per se. We would do gigs here and there, and we went through a phase where we would do a Fozzy gig after a WWE show, which was really hard for me. But it wasn't until, probably about 2010 that Rich and I said, listen, we got something really special here. Let's make this a full-time project. And that's when that really started becoming, we could go on tour for weeks at a time, and I wasn't wrestling as much. And then, since Judas started hitting in 2017, that's kind of when I was moving to AEW, and that's also when the business was changing to where you were only working basically once a week. So that made it really easy to tour, because even, when we had a tour for a month, we would structure it 5 shows a week, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays are off. Wednesdays when Dynamite is for AEW, so I could always go and do those shows if I had to.
Yeah.
So that kind of made it very easy to go on tour. But in the early days of Fozzy, it would have been impossible to tour as much as we probably wanted to because my schedule was so busy with WWE. So that's another thing about the band, that the whole concept of the band has morphed over the last quarter century to get to where we are now, because it wasn't easy at first to block out time to do tours. But we made it work then, and as it morphed into what we're doing now Fozzy is the priority, that I can take time to do it whenever I want, or even do both at the same time by having the Wednesdays available.
How great is that for you?
Yeah, it works. I mean, it really is great. If the schedule was the way that it was back then,
I don't think you could.
I couldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't be here right now.
I wouldn't want to be doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't do 4 matches a week at this point in time. I mean, maybe, but not the way that the business has morphed as far as match quality and that sort of thing.
But then, like, you know, doing that and putting your body through what you would put it through.
Well, yeah, and
on top of like
is so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it really is. It's the business has changed now, wrestling, to where before it used to be based on all the shows that you would do 4 a week, and there's, you know, we do Vegas, and then we do Albuquerque, and then we do Phoenix, and then we do whatever, and there's 8,000 people tonight, so the gate is 200,000. So you take the prop. Now it's based around television, to where the television is worth so much money. And, you know, you air once a week or twice a week if it's Raw and SmackDown, or twice a week if it's Dynamite and Collision.
Yeah.
But that's it, you know, and you're never on both shows, or maybe once in a while. So you're only working once a week. And that has made it so much better and easier in a lot of ways for everybody in the business, especially if you're doing other things.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And you went by Mongoose McQueen. And there was like this whole story behind Fozzy, which, by the way, Mongoose McQueen. That's a great name.
It's actually Moon Goose.
Is it Moon Goose?
Yeah, that was the caveat. Yeah. No, but in the very early days of Fozzy, we started out kind of it was almost a Steel Panther before there was Steel Panther, like, you know, Traveling Wilburys or Blues Brothers or Spinal Tap, where we had alter egos and had a backstory and that sort of thing. And that was how the band started. And it was a very short period of time. I think it was just the first 2 years of the band.
Oh, okay.
But that's basically how we came together.
So did like your experience and your time in wrestling kind of help you with the storytelling of writing songs and performing in this band?
Yes, and it still does to this day, because being a lead singer is being a storyteller, and you are the party host, and you're the kind of the leader of the show. You know, the ebbs and flows are dictated by the lead singer, by the front man, you know. And when I first started wrestling when I was 19, 20 years old, I was not the biggest guy, but I knew I could have the biggest personality and the biggest charisma. And I took a lot of that from rock and roll frontmen, Paul Stanley and David Lee Roth and Freddie and Mick Jagger, and you know, always keeping that in mind of being a rock and roll frontman in a wrestling ring. Then when we started Fozzy, I took, you know, those qualities that I had learned from rock and roll that I'd brought into wrestling and brought them back into rock and roll. So that's kind of, you know, you are playing a character when you go on stage. And you see that Alice Cooper talks about that, and Ozzy talks about that. And, you know, anybody that is a pure front man, you know, Paul Stanley is a character on stage. So that is something I've always adapted into Fozzy as well. You are playing a character. You do go on stage with a little bit of more pomp and circumstance.
It's like you like raise 1,000 or something.
Yeah, well,
right?
those are the best wrestling characters.
Yeah,
too. Your own personality turned up to 1,000, and that's what people want to see. I mean, at least I know that I do, and it never changes. Rock and roll is rock and roll. Same with wrestling. You want to see larger than life characters, you know. And I always laugh when people go, you know, AC/DC does, you know, they're not large in life. They're just, you know, working men rock and roll. Really? Because one of the most famous characters in rock and roll history is Angus Young, who's dressed up in a schoolboy suit, and the singer has the Englishman's cap on, that's the gimmick of AC/DC, you know. So there is a gimmick in every rock and roll band, and you need to play that part and be, like I said, larger than life, because I think that's what people love about show business, is that element. Not that you're a pompous jerk, but you have a little bit of an air to you that makes you somebody that people would want to see, you know, on a stage.
They want to get out of their problems in their world for a little bit.
You want to see. That's why I love the Struts. I love Luke Spiller. He's like Bowie and Freddie reincarnated in 2025. You know, you want that rock star on stage, and so it's the same with wrestling too. You want the large in life personalities, and I just happen to do both of those.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Like you get to like combine your loves.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of similarities between the two because it's show business, and there's nothing like being in front of a live audience. So when you have that energy from a crowd, that's when you know if you're succeeding with your show. And you can do the most perfect rock show ever, but if the crowd's kind of lukewarm, then it's not perfect.
You lost.
Yeah.
You lost,
You can go do a show where you forget the words and mess up some notes, but the crowd's going crazy. That's what you want. Same with wrestling. You could have the best match ever if the crowd is into it. Or you could have a match where maybe there's not a lot of moves or maybe there's not a lot of high flying or whatever it is. But if the crowd is going crazy, that's what it's all about. That's show business.
I don't know who officially is the first one, but to me, I feel like you were the first one where the audience sings along to your theme song.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Right? Because
Yeah,
I've never noticed that.
There's been so many things that I've pioneered in wrestling in a lot of ways that people don't realize it and don't really give credit. Not that I need it, but I was thinking the other day, now singing people's theme songs has become
it's a thing.
The trend.
Yes.
But the first one was Judas in 2000. Yeah, 2020.
When did you notice that it was like picking up? Because I think there was like a cruise.
Yeah, the Jericho cruise.
But like in actual like a show, like an AEW show.
So the Jericho cruise was the first time it happened. We did a live episode of Dynamite from the Jericho cruise.
Oh, okay.
And when we were coming to the ring, the original Inner Circle, I remember people were singing Judas, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Will this translate to the arena? So they did. And you're looking at, I think that was October of 19 or something along those lines. Here we go straight into, 2020 in February or March. Suddenly there's no more live fans at the shows. Wrestling was deemed, whatever the word was, an essential service because it was entertainment. So we continued on, but we're doing it in front of nobody. And I remember when we started bringing fans back in, I think it was like 500 people, scattered.
Scattered, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I wonder if they'll sing Judas. Because we had some like kind of plants, like 40 people, but they were kind of opening match wrestlers around, like crew people, and they were kind of singing it. So we tried to continue the tradition. Will they do it for real? And the first time when the crowd came back, they sang it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they did it. It's amazing. So we continued that, and it picked up steam and became a thing. And then about a year ago, I started feeling it was a little bit kind of just people just sing it because they had to, almost like going through the motions. And I was like, well, maybe I'll change it for a bit. And people got really mad because I turned heel and started a new faction and dropped Judas and put Spotlight in there. Like, we want Judas. Like, well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
I want to take it away for a while.
Because you're a heel. You're a bad guy.
Because I'm a heel. And plus, I can tell it's starting to get just, like, now I can tell, like I said, we're going through the motion. Okay, now is the part where we sing along to Judas. So I was like, I don't want that. I want people to really be looking forward to it. And maybe somewhere, but I kind of felt it was just becoming, standard.
Yeah.
So when I stopped it, then they started singing other people's songs in the meantime. So now when I bring it back, it's just gonna be like, oh well, they're just copying Judas. But I think, I know they sing Adam Copeland's song, they sing Cody's song, they sing Seth Rollins' song,
and it's not even words.
They're not
it's
words.
just a whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mine was the first where they were singing. And the best moment, one of the best moments in my career and in AEW history, was, I think, it just was the anniversary, I think 4 years ago, when I was working against MJF. And one of his caveats, whatever, was like, you cannot use Judas as your theme song. And we were in Houston, and I remember like, okay, I wonder if the fans will sing it anyways. And then we started thinking, well, should we goad them? Should we put the words up on the screen and like the old bouncing ball where they're singing?
Like the,
or someone's like, you got to put the lyrics under everyone's chair. So and I was like, Tony Khan, my boss, and I were talking. It's like, when you go to a rock and roll show, when we go to, I mentioned AC/DC, and they start playing "You Shook Me All Along," you don't have a lyric sheet, and
there's not like the lyrics on the
words.
If
they could just play it, and the singer could not, Brian Johnson could not sing, and the crowd would sing along. They know it. Let's see if that happens. If it doesn't happen, then the heel's evil plan worked, and it didn't work. If it does happen, it could be something very cool. And lo and behold, about less than 2 lines into the song, everybody got into sync, and they're singing it a cappella with no cues,
crazy,
no music. I just walked on stage in silence, and they started, and they went for it, and it was one of the coolest things ever because they knew the song. And that's when we had something special. And that's also one of the reasons why Judas went gold. And like I mentioned, it slowed down a bit because we're not playing it every week on TV. But
it's a great song.
Well, thank you. But it's going to end up platinum. And to get a platinum record, 1 million sales in this day and age.
I was going to say, like right now in this...
nobody's buying music.
Yeah.
Right? So to get those sales. And
crazy.
there's streaming, which they then transfer into sales. But the fact that it's got that sort of life to it tells me that we got something special, not just as a song, but putting it in that part where everybody wanted to sing it.
So when that happened and you're walking down the ramp and everybody's singing your song, like what's going through your mind?
Just really like, man, it worked.
Yeah.
Like, because you never know. And that's one of the cool things about wrestling or music or comedy. When you're in front of a live crowd, you never know what's going to happen. You really don't. You can't predict it. You can't force it. And that was a moment where I was like, man, this is really, really cool. And like, man, it worked out. They did it. They did it.
So last year, Wembley Stadium, AEW All In, you perform Spotlight and you sing yourself to the ring. And I know that there have been wrestlers who have bands perform their theme song, but this is you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's
what
been a
was
couple
that
guys,
like?
I think, that have wrapped themselves to the ring. Like R-Truth and Cena maybe has done it. But when we did it twice, we did it the first year, we did Judas for the first, what's the show called? All In?
All In.
Oh, sorry, yeah. The first Wembley Stadium show, I forget all the names, but the first Wembley Stadium show, we did Judas. Then the next Wembley Stadium show, we did Spotlight. And it was incredible. I mean, the first year was really crazy because the ring was configured differently. So I started up on this high balcony, sang the beginning of the song, then ran down some stairs, across a row of seats, onto a ladder, climbed down the ladder to the ground, and continued to sing. So I had to kind of get there, which was really crazy.
Where you're like, thank God, my cardio's great.
Well, yeah. And then, I'm like, and then I do a 15-minute match with Will Ospreay after that.
Oh, God.
The second year was better because they took the ring and moved it so we had the full stage on one side of the stadium and a very long ramp.
Yeah.
And that one was a lot easier to sing. So to do both of them was a lot of fun. And once again, like, listen, any rock and roll band in the world, obviously you want to be Queen and play, a 2-hour show in Wembley Stadium. But the fact that we have a combined 5 minutes playing Wembley Stadium, I will take that. And I bet you any other band on the planet would take that.
Of course.
And take it as a huge win.
You could say, we played at Wembley Stadium.
Twice. Yeah, 5 minutes total.
No one needs to know it was 5 minutes.
Right. We played Wembley Stadium
You just
twice.
stop right there.
Yeah.
So you've been in music for 25 years, wrestling for over 30. What's the biggest difference between, Fozzy fans and wrestling fans? Or do you see like there's some sort of like similarity that they don't even know about?
I mean, when we first started Fozzy, it was mostly wrestling because people didn't really know what it was, and we knew that we'd have to work twice as hard to get people's respect just because I was in the band and the wrestling tie-in, and is this a vanity project, whatever it may be, but we with the exception of the first couple of years of doing the Moon Goose McQueen thing, we never really focused on the connection. We wanted to keep them separate for that reason. I didn't want people not liking Fozzy when I was a heel just because I'm a heel, and then liking Fozzy when I'm a babyface, I'm a babyface. So, and as the years have gone by, there are hardcore Fozzy fans that don't care about wrestling. There's hardcore wrestling fans, Jericho wrestling fans that don't care about Fozzy, and there's ones in the middle that love both. So that to me is a pretty cool position to be in, because once again, like, we work twice as hard to get that respect from people, and then once you start getting. We have a top 10 hit, and then you have 2, and now we have 8 top 10 hits. I mean, that's pretty, you can't deny that, and then when you have, like I said, a gold record, you can't deny that. Then the whole, it's just a wrestling thing, that kind of goes out the window, because you can say that till the cows come home, and there's people that are always going to say that, which is fine.
Sure.
Don't worry about that. There's people that aren't going to like our band ever. They're just not, and that's fine. I don't worry about those people. I worry about the people that do like our band, and I worry about making new fans for our band. And I feel that that's kind of the reason why we've continued to grow. And you know how it is on social media or whatever it may be. Haters going to hate, and they don't want to ever listen. And it's like, you can't convince somebody Jesus is real if they don't want to believe it, or
No, their mind is already made up.
right, or you can't convince somebody that the Bigfoot is not real if they believe it. So it's the same thing. If you hate Fozzy, if you hate Metallica because they're not playing anything, they're not releasing stuff like the first 4 albums, there's nothing they can do to change it. You just have to continue forward and do great work, and fans will respond. And that's kind of what we've done. And like I said, there's still a wrestling fan base for Fozzy, and there's a Fozzy fan base. I know people that have seen Fozzy 80 times that have never watched me wrestle. And that's great. I mean, whatever it is that attracts you to the band, as long as we continue to do great shows and write great songs, then you'll continue to support us.
When people say Chris Jericho, what do you want people to walk away with?
Just the entertainer. Someone that gives his all in anything that I do to make sure that people enjoy it. If you're spending money, or even if you're spending time with watching something that I'm doing or listening to something I'm doing, I want that to be beneficial and rewarding. So yeah, I'm an entertainer. That's what I do.
All right. So before I let you go, why don't we do a round of rapid fire questions?
Sounds good.
All right. First concert you went to?
The Police Synchronicity Tour, 1983.
Second favorite city to play, because I know Vegas is your favorite.
I really do love Vegas. Yeah. Gosh, New York City is always great. We have such a good time there. We're playing the Whiskey tomorrow, which is obviously a classic, fun place to go. But it's weird. You go to some places where you're just in the middle of nowhere, like Wyandotte, Michigan. You're like, where is that? It's just this place outside of Detroit. There'll be a great crowd there. So we love playing in the UK. I mean, Glasgow, Scotland is probably the craziest crowd every time. It's
I think
such
European
a blast
fans
there.
in general.
The UK, yeah. There's Europe, which is obviously Germany and Italy and Spain.
Yeah.
UK, between Ireland, Northern Ireland, which is not part of the UK, or Ireland is. Anyway, Ireland, Northern
Something
Ireland,
like that.
Scotland, England, Wales are always great shows and great times. And we do really well there. We actually probably do our biggest shows in those countries.
All right. Who is louder, Fozzy fans or wrestling fans?
It depends. I mean, it's hard to say, but Fozzy chants happen at every show we do, and they're always super loud. And Fozzy is kind of a weird name when you first hear it, but it's the easiest name to chant, and we milk that to the highest degree. So I would maybe go Fozzy chants are always usually the loudest.
Okay. What's a song that you wish you wrote?
I mean, gosh, there's so many of them. Any song that people feel and hits them in a certain place, like songs that are so overplayed, you're like, oh my gosh, Enter Sandman, do I really have to listen to this again? When you hear that, it's so powerful and it's so great. Or I mean, something like Bohemian Rhapsody, which is so weird, but everyone loves it. Any song that you can write that connects with people, I wish I would have written. But what I am happy about is that we've written a song like Judas, for example, which has gone above and beyond. It's on Cobra Kai. They play it, during NHL games. They're playing it in Premier Soccer League over in London. It's our version of Enter Sandman. Not that it's as big as that song is yet, but it's the one song that we've written that got through the gates to where the more mainstream know it. Now we've other songs that we've written that our fans love, but like I said, you can write an Enter Sandman or a Yesterday or I Can't Get No Satisfaction or any song that you hear 10,000 times in a row. You Shook Me All Night Long. Like every band needs one of those songs, and Judas is kind of our version of that.
All right. So match that you'd love to have, but it hasn't happened. And I will say that I actually had Joe Hendry, TNA World Champ, in here, and I asked him the same question. One of his picks would be you.
Oh, right.
And I can't even imagine like the promos and the songs that you guys would do. But what's a match that you haven't had yet?
It's hard, Sylvia, because I've wrestled so many people, and to me, it's all about the story.
Yeah.
It took me, I think, 10 years or so of me being in the WWE before I ever wrestled Undertaker, for example. We were always on different shows, and finally when we wrestled, it was like, this is crazy. Why have we not wrestled? Like Bryan Danielson and I think the first match we ever had was in AEW. We were in WWE for 10 years. We had one very short match when he first came in, but an actual real
story behind
a real, banger, barn burner. That didn't happen until we were in AEW together. So it's hard to say. To me, it's about the story and who it is that is out there that you connect with in the right way. So I think for right now with what's going on in AEW, I'm kind of a little bit out of a hiatus there, but I think there's probably a big match with Big Bill and I that's going to take place at some point, which I think, we've been doing a storyline together for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just know it. Okay, when this finally culminates into the war, we've probably got something pretty special. But once again, that's because of the story. Wrestling is all about stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And I'd love to wrestle Joe Hendry. I think he's doing a great job, and
he's having such a moment right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of his. He was actually booked on the Jericho cruise this year, but he didn't make it for visa issues and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So.
Space aliens land and want to learn more about rock. What song do you play for them?
One song?
One, I know.
I mean, it's hard,
There's so
right?
many. It's
Yeah,
so
I mean,
good
if
ones,
you take something like Master of Puppets, if you're looking for something that's really hard rock, it's pretty much the perfect written song. And if you said like Space Aliens Land, give them one heavy metal record, it would be Master of Puppets, the whole record. So I would go with that. It's but there's other tunes you could probably fit in there. But I think for a real heavy, accessible, melodic tune that pretty much everybody likes, I would probably go with that one.
Master of Puppets?
Master of Puppets.
It's actually my wedding entrance song.
Oh, wow.
But I played it like piano-wise. So
okay, so you played the more classical
The classical version, yeah.
Thunderstruck would be another good one, too. That's a pretty quintessential rock and roll
That's great,
song.
yeah. Would you survive a zombie apocalypse?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I would know early on what was happening and have no problem shooting dudes in the head, because a lot of people wouldn't want to do that because they wouldn't understand. Like, it's still a
I'd be
human.
squeamish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be up for it. I mean, I've been watching zombie movies since I was 13.
So you kind of get the
I've got
more
the
or
whole
less
strategy, written down. Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to be prepared.
Yeah, I do. And I live in a kind of a compound area, so I would just have to fortify the fence a bit.
Okay.
And I live on the fence on one side and a lake on the other, so I have to watch out for water zombies, because there's
I didn't even know there were water.
Yeah, if you see Lucio Fulci's zombie, you'll see a zombie attack a shark underneath the bottom of the ocean. So they do exist.
Then does the shark turn into a zombie?
You would think,
oh my God.
That's a whole other problem.
I'm gonna come with you.
See, that's what I mean. You got to come with me.
Yeah, I gotta go with you.
You're welcome to come to my compound.
Yeah.
If and when the zombie apocalypse takes place.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be like, the smell.
You need a strong leader who's not afraid to shoot a dude.
I'd go out and I would see all of the zombies and like body parts, and I'd be squeamish.
And you'd be like, Harry, what's wrong? Like, Harry, what are you doing, Harry? Like, why are you coming over here? Like,
don't get next to me, Harry.
Yeah, it's your
go
neighbor,
away.
Harry. And I'd be like,
and I'm like, oh
you just murdered Harry. No, he's a zombie. Like, you have to do that.
It's like the Flanders, like when
exactly.
Homer shot Flanders.
Treehouse of Terror.
What was your first job ever?
First job ever was delivering flyers, which are like, come to Jack Andrews drugstore, a 6-pack of Coke, 16 cents off or whatever. So yeah, my mom made me get a job. I was probably only 9 or 10, and I would get 1 cent a flyer, and I delivered 150. So I made $1.50 a week, which when I was 10 in 1970 or 1980, you could buy Archie comics for that and make some candy.
So you hustled.
So yeah, then it was a paper boy. The first kind of brick and mortar job was working at Zellers, which was kind of like a Kmart in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My first job at Zellers was stacking a whole semi-truck of manure, fertilizer, bags of it. I had to take the bags off the trailer and put them into the back. And I just remember I just smelled like
manure.
Poop the whole, yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. Under my fingernails and everything.
Oh, just God. Heel or babyface? And by that, if first somebody listening to this doesn't know what good guy or bad guy.
I mean, both are fun as long as people are making noise. But I'll put it this way: I'm a 9-time world champion. All 9 have been as a heel.
You play a great heel.
Well, thank you. But that tells you which one I like better, because I can't win a world title as a babyface for nothing. But make me a heel, I'm winning world titles like they're falling off trees.
Yeah. And then lastly, what is the best advice you've ever received?
I mean, the best advice is the only people that tell you can't do something are the ones that have failed. If you want to do something, go do it. I'm a living example of that. If I can do it, you can do it. But don't listen to people that tell you can't, because they usually didn't succeed in whatever they wanted to do. And don't let that toxicity permeate your dreams and goals and hopes.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. What a great time.
I'm
and
glad.
Thanks to KOMP for always supporting Fozzy.
Absolutely.
Always playing our songs, always supporting us when we come to town. So we're excited. VAMP'd is a great venue. And we're going to have a great show there tonight. It's a rock and roll party.
And you can go to komp.com, get your tickets there.
Yeah.
And we'll see you out there.
Sounds good. Thank you.